some of you had been recommending this album, and so I think that now's a good time to go ahead and listen to it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I hope that you are having a wonderful weekend out there, a great Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, happy day, whatever day it is for you. I hope that it's a good one. Today, we are going to do a full album listen. Quiet Sun is the name of the band, with their album Mainstream, the only album from the band released in 1975. We're listening to this album because a lot of you had suggested, or at least mentioned it. WTF Fungus, Rory JP, Weasel Dragon, and Sheldon Wheaton. I do know for a fact there's been more of you, but those were the names that immediately popped up on my search. So, thank you for the recommendation. Worth noting is that we have Phil from Roxy Music in here, which is kind of interesting. I'm kind of curious to hear what his guitar playing brings into this kind of sound, because I do know for a fact, just from what you guys have said and from looking at it on the Wikipedia page, that this is in the Canterbury scene genre, which is kind of interesting. I'm kind of curious to hear, you know, him and his influence here, and what he brings to this particular sound. And I'm looking at the personnel list just because I can't help but see it, just to show you guys here. Can't help but notice Brian Eno is also involved here, and he's bringing back his oblique strategies, how he pulls everything together. So that's kind of interesting. I'm really curious to hear this. It's been a while since we've kind of, you know, listened to something like a full album from the Canterbury scene, and I've kind of missed it. So here we are. And we are here. Of course, before we dive into it, if you don't mind pressing the like button, it just helps out. Does a lot. Helps others find the video. Perhaps makes YouTube, recommend it and such. The Buy Me a Coffee is there if you have a song request or even an album request and you'd like to bump yourself up in line. You can do that right there, etc., 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 etc. Let's go ahead and dive into the album. I'm excited to get into this. I'm really curious to see and hear the band as a whole, but just knowing Phil's here, it's kind of interesting. Without further ado, because we've done, 2 minutes? 2 minutes and 15 seconds of ado. This sip of hot coffee is naturally, and as always to you, we'll begin with the track Sol Caliente. Hot alone? Sun hot? Hot sun. Here's to you. Sounds like Superman. I love the piano line going across that distant, spacey kind of riff. Love how the bass starts this up. Fuzzy thing. That guitar is so mired in its own distortion, huh? It's a nice space with the keys and the bass. Holding. Snappy drum fill. I like how he's working his way around the kid. Became aggressive, then backed off into this. Space re-entry. Phil's guitar is sensational. He's crying out. This sounds like Fripp. Let me stop it right there because I know it was continuing right in. We'll catch the transition, but I want to talk about the first track, that 7-minute piece. That was a hot Canterbury jam. And it wasn't exactly in a style what I thought it was going to be. Like, I wasn't expecting an instrumental opening. Cool with it. I just wasn't expecting it because I do see that you have lead vocals performed by Charles Hayward, who's also the drummer in here. And I love his drumming. The actual dynamics of his drumming make for a great listen here, especially in that one section where he's kind of filling in with the, like, I don't know exactly what he's playing. Some extra sort of percussion, maybe some, not wind chimes, but like something metal that he's hitting over on the side. Maybe he's just hitting like the bell of one of the cymbals or something. But I love how he works his way, keeping space, but works his way around the drum kit in that particular section, while the drums and the keyboard line is going through. While the bass rather was keeping that rhythm in there really nicely, and then it would return down. Like, that was just a really great section about halfway through, and I love the openness and the space that they played with. And Hayward, I think especially in that section, really drew a lot of attention towards those dynamics that he plays with, and it makes it, you know, a full and in-depth listen, and satisfying along the way. Phil's guitar is, I love it. His guitar is, I love it. The back half of this track, if I can pull it back for a brief moment, when he gets into I love this section. This is my favorite part. Listen to Hayward's drumming. That little bit of intensity, right? Now, it softens up in this section right after this, but I do love Phil's guitar that comes in after. There it is. That kind of feels a little spacey to me. There's something kind of Hawkwindish about that. And I love that tone that he has, because it kind of has a little bit of an alarm kind of sound to it. Like, it sounds like it's in distress. It sounds like it's crying. But the tone is also kind of sharp-edged in a way. It kind of sears through the music at that point, which is kind of smooth. And, you know, as momentous as it is, it's still kind of smooth. But his guitar just comes in like a serrated knife and just cuts through that. And I think that was so cool. Hearing the different sounds that he brings up. The intro is very spacey, with his guitar kind of way, way distorted, but also way in the back, way in the distance, as the band kind of begins to fully come in. And I love this almost anthemic sound that he plays here. That note, that little kind of remind me of Superman, with the keyboards, you know, playing that nice little melody throughout. It was a cool intro, and I think it does a great job of kind of setting up pace for what's to come after. Because as I'm listening to this, not that I'm overly experienced with Canterbury scene, although of course we have covered a few bands and a few albums. If you were to take this and, for lack of a better word, make it a little less serious, at least right now, it's kind of leaning towards like a gong kind of sound. There's a jazziness, there's a rockness, but there's something else, and that's what makes the scene the scene. But at least on this particular track, it does sound pretty unique. You know, it's not so jazzy, it's not so rock, it's not so progressive, even though obviously it is, especially the time signatures, the bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 however it went. And then even that part seemed to shift every other measure, which kind of kept me on my toes. But that opening and theme guitar is really nice. And then it settles into its groove. Here's when we get into that Canterbury scene groove. All right? The bass intro is what kind of leads us into that. That bass is going to be performed by Bill McCormick, who's also going to be handling backing vocals. Not obviously on this track, but at some other point in the album. And I love his bass tone. Warm, inviting. It feels good. It feels right in here. And it's a very varied listen as well for the intro. Like, I couldn't tell you because we haven't listened to the album yet, but at least at this point, it went through a lot of different shifts and different changes in this track. So it kind of leads me to believe that this is kind of like that intro where they're kind of like giving you a taste of everything before maybe settling you down a little bit. But there's only one way to know, and that is to move on to the next track. So let's go ahead and let the ending of Sol Caliente play, and we'll lead into the next track, which is Trumpets with Motherhood, which, because it's only a minute and so long, I'll probably let it go into the next track, which is Bargain Classics. We're diving into the bargain bin. See, they shift on a dime, right? But they hand you a nickel. Love how those keys are still underneath here. soft machine. I gotta tell you, I love the melodic keys alongside of Phil's distorted, stricken guitar. If it continues like this is kind of a nice bridge between tracks. I actually really like that as a bridge track. It was like a cool down, actually, after the previous one. The previous one, like I said, had a lot and threw a lot at you. This one kind of just brought you down, cooled you down. This was the arrival to its departure. Okay, now we'll let it go into the next track, of course, here. Is that a duck call? Or what are those things called? So it has a Z in it. This is a circus coming to town. Now the clowns are marching in. Great production there. With the space. I like how they play with the feedback. They're pitching it up and down. It's absolute pride. It sounds like a UFO. Wow, that riff came through. This feels like a Twisted Circus to me. It really does. Like this motif that keeps coming back, it's catchy, but it sounds so like demented a little bit, like just a little off. All right. So Trumpets with Motherhood, first of all, is just like I said quickly, a nice little bridge, very melodic, very patient. I love how the keyboards build up and how everything just feels like a gentle cool down off the previous track, and definitely a nice lead-in and appetizer before you get into Bargain Classics, which Bargain Classics feels like like diving into the bargain bin, actually pulling out a bunch of things that it's like going to the bargain bin and you're looking for an outfit. You got the pants, check. You can't find the shirt that matches, but you do find a shirt, so you pull that out, check. You grab a hat, why not? Look a little dapper, check. There's a tie, there's a belt, there's some shoes, and some socks. You put it all together, and it's not necessarily the most cohesive looking outfit, and yet it does protrude style. I feel like this track is something like that. For example, that main motif, that main melody that it keeps coming back to, that along with a lot of the track, there's something about it that, yes, it's melodic. Yes, it's catchy just because they use the same line that comes back and forth in many instances. But it's not like a smooth line. It's not like something that gels perfectly. There's something, in my opinion, like slightly disharmonious about it. But they still make it work. And that's why I still feel like now, based off of these 3 tracks we listened to, they still kind of sound a little bit unique unto themselves. Like I was hearing shades of like Soft Machine a little bit in here, especially with that organ, this specific tone that it brings about. I can't help but think about it. But I do enjoy the way that they played. I love the drum intro and how that, once again, bringing everybody together. I think that was a wonderful way to do it. And then they just launch off of that and just dive off. And I do like the use of percussion and yes, we're using those quick jazzy fills and the shuffles, but we're also just playing with the space, the percussion. I like the way that that's used throughout this. Not so overly structured, overly tight and constrained. This actually, now that I'm thinking about it, this feels, at least at this point, more like these musicians jamming and saying, hey, let's make a Canterbury Scene album. And so they got together and they're jamming it out. That's what this feels like, rather than, for example, like Caravan, which like they're crafting songs. They are crafting music in a different way. I'm just talking about their approach. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but you know what I mean. Like there's a different approach. Soft Machine, they have a different approach, like a jazzier approach to their things. I feel like this is like a jam band, and they're just like, let's just have some fun. Let's see what comes out. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into it structurally and compositionally, but I feel like they're hashing it out. And to an extent, they're making it up as they go. Dave Jarrett on the pianos, on the Farfisa and Hammond organs, and the VCS3, which, like I said, you get that very classic kind of sound that's par for the scene and par for the course here. And he does it great justice. I think the amount of guitars and organ, because you have Eno, in here somewhere. I don't know what he's doing exactly, but he's in here. He's involved. It makes it for a very pleasant and coarse listen. Coarse because I don't think that this is smooth, right? This isn't smooth Canterbury. This isn't Golf Girl from Caravan. No. This is something more this is leaning towards that more Soft Machine kind of sound. But I like that. I like how it has some texture to it. It has some bite to it. It has something that you can chew on. And I think they do a great job with that. So is this album instrumental? Because I have the lyric page pulled up, but it just keeps saying, this song is instrumental. This song is instrumental. But somewhere in here, there's going to be some vocals. So we'll get to it eventually. Let's go ahead and lead into the next track, which is RFD. What could that mean? Red Fire Department. We'll figure it out after. Oh, let me let Bargain Classics lead into that. How about that? And doesn't this sound like a clown marching band though? Like I said in the beginning, like the circus came to town, but it's a little cursed. That chord. This is really beautiful. So RFD is kind of acting as another instrumental, as if it's all been instrumental, another bridge piece is the better way to say that. And it's really just Jarrett's work here. This is really just keys, piano, organ, gentle Canterbury lullaby. I think that's the best way to describe this particular piece. And so far, I mean, this album actually goes by pretty quick, huh? We're like going through this album fast. Not trying to, it's just breezing by. But with this particular track, it's not as short as Trumpets, but hits a similar stride. And at least so far, I actually really love what they put down when it's like these soft, very just drifting, ambient, nearing kind of spaces. I think that they come up with some really beautiful melodies. You have the progressive pieces, and then you have these pieces, which just kind of lull you down. Like I said, I think this is perfectly described as a Canterbury scene lullaby. This is something I play for Liam. Toss it on in there and make him a fan early on. This would be a good one to get him early into it. But this is one of those tracks that you just kind of drift away with it. You can close your eyes, relax a little bit, take a nice inhale, make a nice dehale, exhale, and then move on into the next track. Because the next track, listen, has quite the title. Mummy was an asteroid. Daddy was a small non-stick kitchen utensil. Like Little Dipper, basically. Asteroid and Little Dipper. We're going to space. Now, if there was ever a Canterbury scene title, I would expect that from Gong or Caravan even. Mommy was an asteroid. Daddy was a okay. Let's see how this one's gonna sound. I can only imagine we're gonna have the kitchen sink thrown in on this one. Sounds like space, like a feedback signal. That's alien. I love the little pitch bend bit. I love the drumming bass with the hi-hat. The cymbal. Sounds like alien communication. I like those guitars. It's kind of aggressive in the back. There's that organ. It's that shuffle. Settled into the bass in that new section. That swing. double guitar happening here. Kind of echo. Classic. Classic. It just stops like that, huh? It just stops like that. Mummy Was an Asteroid is so far the best track on this album. And the whole thing was great, but you have to isolate from about 3 minutes 40 seconds onward. Is from that moment is the best couple minutes on this album. From here, I'm on Trot. Sorry, I'm on the wrong one. From 3, here we go. This is how the band sets them up. This was. I thought it was the guitar solo, the band, and how they've lifted Phil in that specific moment is perfect. I think that is 10 out of 10 from just that point forward. The rest of the song beforehand was great too. But when it hit that particular stride, it was just finish line, set your sights. It's going to be a satisfying and easy race from here forward. Victory is cried at the end. This was a fantastic, classic solo. This felt like a classic piece from the Canterbury scene. This felt like something that should be heralded, basically, is what I'm trying to get at. Something that should be lifted upon the shoulders of giants, although not gentle as they are. I love how he grew the intensity. I love the keys and the bass playing behind it. Listen to this. Keep making it higher and higher. Like that really just feels like an incredibly satisfying piece of music. And before that, I love how this track really does kind of lean into the more spacey elements. You know, some of the organ work sounded very much like some sort of satellite signals coming in from space. Some of the guitar work kind of sounded alien in some capacity. Like this little rhythm here is kind of fun, and they return to this throughout, at least melodically. Here, there you go. That sounds like that wow, that kind of sound happening back there. It kind of sounds like a digital didgeridoo of some sort, but it sounds a little more vocal. And then here's your feedback satellite sounds that are turned into a keyboard. Like, there's a lot happening in this track. The first half is just very punchy, progressive, very fusion, but that second half with the solo is, to me, absolute brilliance. And that is, at this point, we still have 2 more songs, but at this point, that is the best part of this album. That solo is just the star. I think that was absolutely fantastic. And then even beforehand, like I said, before we hit the solo, the way the band cools down after this. Give it a second. They're going to cool down. Here. They get you ready. Phil's already lining it up. He's knocking his arrow. He's taking sight. And that's a perfect track from this album, and that is a brilliant moment from about 3:30 forward. That's great. Let us move on to the next track, which is Trot, which interestingly it didn't flow from this track. It just kind of started and stopped. Just had it like it just hit a wall. It just cut it. I love these build-ups. I love the drumming with the keys, just gently rumbling and tumbling, leading us in. This was earlier reference in the album. God, the jazziness of those keys, the bass is just, that's warmth inside. messy. It's like a spy thriller. This does sound very like jazzy. It's just listen to the keys, like 60s, 70s jazz. Okay. Another really great track. The piano work was brilliant. I love how much of a showstopper that is. I love how upfront it is. I like how very like 60s, 70s kind of classic jazz. This feels like in that place. Like, okay, the music here, like obviously it has that Canterbury injection in here. Let's suck that out of it. And if you were to kind of like, soften it up a little bit and everything, it kind of moves at the very same pace, hits the same cadences, rhythms of like classic jazz albums and jazz greats. It does kind of hit the same moods as like a Coltrane, I wouldn't say Davis, but like Sonny Rollins. Like it kind of plays in those kind of spaces to an extent at that kind of jazz and that kind of level, which I think works really well. This is like a trot. This is definitely like a certain kind of walk, a certain kind of jazzy stride. And I think they do a great job of that, especially when Phil comes in afterwards here at the end. The bass, the drums, and the keys underneath Phil definitely hold that together. That is the, what is it? Isn't eggs used as a binding agent with certain ingredients? Is that what it's like? That is the eggs of this track. And then Phil is kind of like, I don't know, the chives, the cheese, whatever you put on top of that to like give it that extra zest. And I love how sharp Phil's guitar comes in like a nice cheddar to kind of cut through the jazziness that the rest of the band are laying underneath. I really think that the end is like a great example of that. Like listen, take out for a second Phil's guitar. Just listen to especially the bass line, but the keys and the drums underneath. Don't they have a excuse me, don't they have a very like Blue Label jazz kind of sound? But then it's cool to hear, Phil on top of that providing that guitar lead, which just kind of, once again, I said it before, just kind of sears through everything and adds a nice sizzle to this particular steak. I can't hope. I think I'm hungry. They're trotting out for us, and I think that works sensationally. But take me back, Tiresias, to the beginning. That's a nice opening, right? This is very, to me, like exotic. They're kind of world building at this point, and they do that a lot. And he loves using that extremely distorted kind of drilling kind of sound, that very heavy-handed distortion on the guitar. But I think that really leads into, like, for example, the organ sound that you hear a lot within the band, and then that leads into here. They set you up again. There you go. Once again, like within these tracks, there's these little centerpieces that they give you the progressive, they give you the this and the that, the mishmash, but then they give you something hearty within that. This is that hardiness, and I just really enjoyed the way they played there. I haven't really talked about Bill McCormack on the bass. I've mentioned the bass, but I haven't talked about him specifically. But I love the warmth that he brings to this. I think that he brings in a very intelligent sound into the music. I'm looking at his particular Wikipedia article right now. He's formerly, obviously, of this band, 801, which you guys have also mentioned before, Matching Mole. Let's see, and some others. But I really enjoy his bass playing a lot. This is a great band come together. We'll look at the Wikipedia page for the band and for this album after we actually finish. But I'm curious how they all got together, and especially how Phil came to do this from Roxy Music. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and finish out the album. This was a quick one. I didn't know that it was going to be instrumental like this. I guess that shows how much like the lyrics, we also go into and everything. But I did not expect this to be instrumental. Let's go ahead and listen to the last track, which is wrong. I'm probably saying it wrong, but wrong, you know what I mean. Wrong. Let's let the second to last track trot itself out. There must be lyrics on this one because people are credited with singing. This one has lyrics. I see them. Catch the signature.
European logic, still I can't make head or tail of it. If I could only read between the lines, think of all the treasures I might find. Learn the secret of trance and levitation, liberate my soul in 6 easy lessons. Meanwhile, I'll stay at home, listen to Schoenberg in the bar, and leave you to the geometry of my love, to which you're welcome if it helps you at all, to get your rocks off and have a ball. But don't let it be thought that we have nothing to share. We drink the same water and we breathe the same air. Deep down inside we need each other just the same. You need me to laugh at, and I need you to blame.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for hitting the microphone. Mainstream by Quiet Sun. Full album reaction complete. And I gotta say, unfortunately, it ends kind of in a bad place, in my opinion. I think it ends badly. Not to mince words in this particular case, but so this is the only track in the album that, of course, features singing, as we noticed and as we mentioned. Charles Hayward, drummer, extraordinary drummer. Love the way he plays. But vocals, I did not care for them, to say the least. On one hand, it kind of sounded like it was leaning towards like an early, maybe late 60s kind of psychedelic sound for a moment. But I did not care for his vocals. So taking the vocals out of this and listening to the instrumental, there were nice sections. I guess what I could say to summarize this is that there's nice moments in here, but definitely not enough to make a 9-minute track out of. And for his, singing and delivery taking up the vocal side of things, so elongating certain parts, it didn't strengthen it. As a matter of fact, it weakened it. I did think that there were some promising moments in here, though, like the beginning. This is nice. I love the shuffle. I love the piano, the strong, aggressive, strong-handedness of the jazz coming back, like that Canterbury sound coming back. Even when it switches here, fine, nothing wrong with that. But this just kind of sounds a little basic and kind of boring at this particular point, right? There's nothing wrong with playing something straight and, a little bit more contemporary, I guess is the word. There's probably another word. But, like, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, it sounds uninspired, I would say. This right here, briefly, before he starts singing, was one of those really nice moments. I really liked this little melody that came in, right? And then you guys know I love bass. However, the bass solo on top of the piano that takes up a decent amount of time in here, it just didn't go anywhere. That's what I was feeling listening to it. I wanted to like it more than I did. Perhaps if there are some more sounds underneath, maybe even the drums providing some sort of beats or rhythm to it, just needed something else, then maybe that would have been a little bit more enjoyable. Maybe they adding some ambience to it and some space. But for the length that this goes on and for what is happening, I was very disappointed with this. I didn't like this section as much as I wanted to. because there is something there. There is something in my mind, like potentially within there. It's just not quite blossomed to fruition. You know, even the organ is adding a little something, but wasn't quite for me. You know, it's getting there, but still not there. And then it goes back into
We have nothing to share.
yeah, I didn't like that. The ending is nice. You know, some nice guitar coming back from Phil, but it's not enough to save a 9-minute, 24-second track from what I feel is just a little bit of a slice of boredom. But this is so. Even though, you know, it ended not in a great place, in a weaker place for myself personally, the rest of the album was fun. The rest of the album was fantastic. Let's go ahead and look at some of the information here on this album, if we don't mind. Actually, let's look at the lyrics first before I do that. I'm looking at my little black book to see if I was right or wrong within the confines of whoremonger logic to even try to sing this song. I get. So was he this little breaking the fourth wall? Like, should he be singing this song? No disrespect, but instrumentally may have been better. I could have asked the I Ching, but that would have taken up too much time. And with the time being 4/4, I didn't see there was time to lose. That's a good line. If things got bad, it could always turn into blues, like they do back home on the Delta, grunt and groan. Okay, so at least, you know what? I like that he's acknowledging that he is he's the singer, and it may not be up to snuff. Looking at my little black book of European logic, still I can't make head or tail of it. If I could only read between the lines, think of all the treasures I might find, learn the secret of trance and levitation, liberate my soul in 6 easy lessons. So, you know, of course, the I Ching, he's like, could have asked the I Ching, I could have, you know, tossed coins, heads or tails. Listen, I just got to do what I got to do. He has to sing. Meanwhile, I'll stay at home, listen to Schoenberger in the bath, and leave it to the geometry of my laugh, to which you're welcome if it helps you at all to get your rocks off and have a ball. Never let it be thought that we have nothing to share. We drink the same water and breathe the same air. Deep down inside, we need each other just the same. You need me to laugh at, and I need you to blame. I really do enjoy how he doesn't mind taking the joke upon himself and such. You need me to laugh at, and I need you to blame. He's okay being the particular vocal delivery or deliverer in this particular case, good or bad as he may be. I do like the humbleness, the humility in here, and as he admits this. It says here, of course, on the Wikipedia page, the band had originally split up in 72. Of course, everyone went their separate ways. Phil to Roxy Music, Bill McCormick, Matching Mole, Hayward joined This Heat, and Dave Jarrett became a math teacher. In 75, Manzanera booked a studio for 26 days to record his first solo album, Diamond Head, and got Quiet Sun together again to record a studio album from their previously composed material. I like that. I actually really like that idea, you know. He booked this studio for himself, but he said, hey, while I have this studio, let's get together again and put this album together. The result, Mainstream, was critically acclaimed and became the NME album of the month, apparently Island Records' 4th or 5th biggest seller at the time. Reworked versions of 3 tracks from Mainstream, Mummy, Wrong, and the intro portion of Sol Caliente were performed by Manzanera's 801 project during 76 and featured on their acclaimed LP 801 Live, which a lot of you guys have also mentioned and recommended and suggested, naturally. This was a fun album to listen to. Favorite tracks, I would say, obviously, or maybe not obviously, but Mummy is definitely my favorite track, followed by RFD. I really like the softer side of the band, but Mummy was, to me, like a great piece of progressive Canterbury, especially with that backing solo at the very end on the back half of that track. That felt like a classic moment within this particular scene, and why stop at this scene? It just felt like a classic moment to me. Let me know what you guys thought of it. Of course, in the comments down below. I hope that you enjoyed this album listen. I hope that you had a good time, relaxing, sitting with me. Sorry for spilling... I hit the thing. I spilled coffee on myself at some point. I don't know where. Oh, there it is. Don't look at it. That makes me sloppy. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for being here. Please come back tomorrow, and I will see you all then. Bye, guys.